Hello family, my name is Igor, welcome to Geekademy channel, and today once again we are going to analyze From Season 1 Episode 8. This video is gonna be shorter but still some interesting information for you. This is just the calm before the storm because episodes 9 and 10 are gonna be amazing. Since we're gonna have so much new information there, spiders, visions, seizures, dreams by Tabitha and many more. Today's episode is basically preparation for all of that, but still I think I managed to find some interesting information for you. But before we begin, I just want to welcome my new Patreon, Marton552. Thank you so much for supporting this channel. Once again, if you're considering supporting this channel on YouTube or on Patreon, please do it for me only after you covered everything possible. I know it doesn't sound like a lot of money, it's basically $2, $5 or $10 a month, but $10 a month, it's $120 a year, and this is something nice you can buy for your wife, your husband or your child. So only after you covered everything possible, every charity, every need or every want of your loved ones, then maybe consider supporting this channel. Also, I will never try to differentiate between Patreons and usual viewers regarding the content they are getting. The only thing Patreons are getting is basically the same videos with no ads, and they get to experience this fucking guy without any censorship. And I'm sorry that this intro, this disclaimer is getting a little bit longer than usual. I just wanted to take advantage of this, analysis being shorter than usual. In almost every video I tell you that if you want to support this channel, you can subscribe, hit that bell and so on and so on. But actually, when I was thinking about it, I don't want anyone to subscribe to this channel if you don't actually enjoy the theme of this channel. This guy, the way I do analysis, because at some point From is gonna be over, or at least we're gonna go to hiatus between season 3 and season 4. And I don't want to have 1 million subscribers or 20 million subscribers if none of them actually want to watch my videos. So if you're here only because of From, you don't really need to subscribe. YouTube knows you enjoy this TV show and they're gonna probably recommend my videos to you anyway. But if you are saying, okay, this guy, I would probably enjoy his analysis on other TV shows also, like there is Severance, we're gonna watch it in February, there is Silo, there's many more interesting TV shows. I myself in a very big anticipation for Arcane, so if this is the case, then consider subscribing. Sorry for the very long intro. Let's begin. So the first time I was rewatching From, I had this theory that basically time stops at this place, because every time we see a clock, we see a watch, it doesn't move. It doesn't actually move. We can see that in Boyd's office, the seconds are not moving on this clock. We also remember, I think in episode 2, when Trudy was speaking to Ellis, she told him like he's not gonna need this watch already anymore. And then I noticed in season 2 that the clocks actually moved, and I thought it's because Boyd brought the worms and there's winter right now and time finally started to move or something like this. But then I can see that like if we're comparing this clock in episode 8 to the same clock in episode 4, here we can see 4 p.m. and here we can see 8:30. I don't know, PM or AM, doesn't really matter. Once again, I'm sorry for my English, but this thingy that moves on the clock and is responsible for counting seconds, it doesn't move, but the time moves, which is another Matrix glitch for me. Once again, I'm not saying this is Matrix or simulation, but I'm starting to notice more and more those moments, like that you cannot just explain them with the production mistakes. Like for example, like we've seen in episode 7, Jasmine's dress, it was dirty with blood, it was covered with blood. The cameraman really wanted to focus on that and show us, you see, it's covered with blood, and suddenly it's clean. One of my subscribers, or I don't know, somebody who wrote in the comments actually helped me to notice, like in episode 1, when Matthew's family is driving and trying to escape from Will. First time they driving, they actually can see some, you know, like wires and like some kind of electricity stand, and the second time there's nothing. Like also you can maybe explain it with some kind of time loop or time travel, and this place is outside of time, or they're actually traveling to past. You know, there's so many theories. You can basically think here about a lot of things, but once again there is another Matrix glitch. And of course I'm gonna add this to my board, and you're gonna be able to find the board in the pinned comment under this video. Now let's move forward. We can see that Boyd, you know, he's remembering how he got into this place. This is basically not the same tree that the Matthews family have seen. We can compare it, it's different, and the roads are also different but also very similar. Once again, I've never been to United States, never been to Canada, but I assume not all the roads are exactly like this, you know, like with a yellow line between them, and it's like circulating. There is a turnaround here. I honestly don't know if there's any connection. Once again, I've never been to United States, but 60% of you watching are from United States, so maybe tell me, all of your roads like this when you go outside of the country, outside of like cities, and are all roads look the same, or this is basically telling us that they're filmed it pretty much in the same place. Anyway, we also learn about the monsters that they used to shriek. They used to make this horrible sound, horrible voice, and we're gonna hear it. I'm gonna actually put it for you here a couple of times.
Drive away. No, please.
What the hell was that?
That was death. And it's coming. Right now. Please.
But after Boyd find the talismans, they started to whisper. Now, once again, this is not my find. Actually, one of my friends, yeah, I made already a couple of friends in this community in Facebook groups. Her name is Martina. She's basically an admin in a lot of Facebook groups, and she told me that maybe it's somehow connected to Father Khatri's name, because if we are actually trying to analyze his first name, which is Rudra, Rudra is an ancient Vedic deity, often considered as an early form of the god Shiva, one of the principal deities in Hinduism. In the Vedas, Rudra is depicted as a fierce god associated with storm, wind, and the hunt. He is sometimes referred to as the god of storms or god of roaring storm. As an aspect of Shiva, Rudra represents the destructive force in the universe which is necessary for creation and renewal. Shiva is often called Rudra in his more wrathful and fearsome aspect. Now what's interesting here is the name Rudra is derived from Sanskrit root Rud, which can mean to roar or to cry, signifying the fierce stormy nature of the deity. Now first of all, I'm enjoying so much getting those pieces of information from different people. This is amazing for me. This community is awesome, by the way. If you're not part of it yet, like, you should. And also a lot of you are writing to me that I should open my Discord or something like this. I'm a little bit noob in this. Let me figure out how to make it, and then maybe I will do something. But I know there are already a lot of good, even great Discord channels, so in case you are in need, you will be able to find something. Now, I don't think necessarily that Father Khatri is somehow related to the monsters shrieking and then becoming more silent, starting to whisper, but it is made me think a little bit about the storm in the end of the season. You know, like there's a deity that's basically related to storm and hunt, and the monsters are hunting. So right now I'm just gonna throw a super crazy theory out there. I myself don't really believe in this too much, but you know, when Father Khatri is being killed, one of the monsters says Father, and there's like a woman's voice. I wanted to believe it's a child voice, because maybe Khatri heard there, you know, the same boy he wasn't able to save, but no, it's a woman's voice. But maybe she wasn't just manipulating him and saying like, "Ooh, Father, help me please," like monsters usually do. Maybe, and I know it's not very likable, but I enjoy this theory so much, so I want to share it with you. Maybe she's actually calling him Father because he is the father. He is the creator of all of those monsters. I know it's insane, I know probably not, most definitely not. but I just enjoy playing with this theory. Anyway, we're moving forward. Father Katri. Another thing that makes me a little bit suspicious about him, that Katri is basically a warrior, okay? Not a priest. They were warriors and then they become, you know, like traders. This is what it's written here. Okay, there are still a lot of Katris out there in India. And they're basically like politicians, traders, and so on and so on and so on. And I know the most probable explanation there for Father Katri still being with us in Season 2 and Season 3, as we've seen in the poster, is basically because he was the best friend for Boyd, and Boyd is one of the best, and he is the main character basically, him and the Matthews family, and Boyd needs this spirit to somehow help him, guide him, and so on and so on. But maybe it's because Father Katri is not who he says he is, who he said he is. His death is something that was planned, even though he prayed and was afraid like crazy, you know, like when you die you're probably afraid like that. But still, when we think about the creators of From, who, as we can see, put so much effort in every detail, and the names of everyone kinda have a meaning. Okay, like as we talked about, like Donna, Ethan, whatever, Boyd, we usually can see this in the character of the person. So when you create a character who is a priest and you choose a name Katri, and we've seen Katri was kind of a warrior, okay, he wasn't like a usual priest. You know, when Boyd talked to him about Frank and he was hoping that this priest is gonna tell him about the virtue of mercy, Father Katri was like, no, you need to kill the motherfucker. So I can see this in his character, but not in his career or occupation or whatever you want to call it. So maybe he wasn't actually a priest still. This is still an idea I didn't leave completely. Anyway, we're moving forward, and as I told you, they started to whisper after the talismans. This is for me just basically an indication that monsters are changed the game. Okay, you know, like when you have a talisman, you less afraid. It's like basically being home when there's a storm outside, you're still home, you have your blanket, you have your hot tea or coffee, whatever it is. It's not that scary as when you are outside. So every night in Fromville you have a storm, but now you have a talisman, so you basically have a comfy house. So now you don't need to be afraid of those crazy screams, of those crazy shrieks. Now when somebody whispers right next to your door, it doesn't matter how many talismans you have. Like right now, wherever you live, I don't care in what country you live, even if you live in New Zealand, which is probably the safest place on earth, and still your door is locked on every possible lock. If somebody's gonna stand outside of your door at night and gonna start whisper, you probably gonna shit your pants. I know I would. So we're collecting brands, and we've seen Christy wearing Reeboks, and Jade is here wearing Adidas, I don't know how you pronounce it in English, doesn't matter. And once again we have this flashback, and we see on the barn it's written big like "Save Us." Not gonna help too much, I'm just curious how they removed it because it seems a bit difficult. And we're moving forward. Kenny is reading a book with Christy, and he brings it to her, and the book is The Narrative of Arthur Gordon Pym of Nantucket. Now please guess the author. Yeah, you guessed it correctly. This is Edgar Allan Poe. I actually have this book here with me. Oh my god, the light is crazy here. And I read the book, and they're talking here about chapter 6. And they're saying things are starting to get interesting. Which is not exactly a coincidence, because actually after chapter 6 things are getting interesting. You know, this is about Gordon Pym. He's been stranded on the boat when there was a mutiny, he was stuck there, and after chapter 6 they're basically starting to plan their own mutiny, and they want to kill everybody on the boat, you know, all the criminals out there. So yeah, things are actually starting to move. So this is another book that the writers definitely read, and it's there for a reason, just like we had Raven in episode 1, which was also written by Edgar Allan Poe. So either the writers are just basically getting some inspiration from this author, or they just big fans of him and they want to put references everywhere, or it is somehow connected to Fromville. Now I told you, I read the book, I found some connections to season 4 of True Detective, not many connections to Fromville. Another interesting thing here, which is worth adding to the board, is this cabin. It's outside of the city, it's completely alone, okay? This is some loner's place. Or maybe, you know, there's like sometimes there's like a woodsman who lives in the wood and he's supposed to take care of the wood or whatever. Maybe, still no clue what it is. It doesn't look livable at all, but it's there. So it was built there for a reason, so it probably has something to do with our plot in all of our mysteries. And we can see the stones, you know, like this is once again the flashback. Boyd family survives the first night, they get out, and those stones where Father Khatri used to pray, they were like in a circle. We can see that they are basically in almost every corner of the city. In one of my previous videos we talked about it's being, you know, like more relevant to the Stone Age, you know, like 10,000 years ago or something like this, and maybe this place starts there. Or maybe this place is basically a dense history, you know, like there's a lot of in this place and it's from every significant period. Just an idea to throw there. Anyway, moving forward, we can see that Ethan is analyzing. He probably doesn't analyze it like we do, but he understands that he is a part of an adventure and he wants to understand what's going on, and he actually sees Victor's drawing. And the one and only that is interesting for us is this drawing. We can see that under the houses, or under one house, there is a big spider web. So maybe it's Matthew's family house, because in the end of season 1 we're gonna discover that when this house crashes, it falls into the caves when monsters lie. And I think this is a reference to those caves, and once again spider. We remember Ethan's vision when the spider came down from the ceiling, somebody screamed. And episode 10 we're gonna see a lot of spiders biting Boyd. So the logical question here in this situation is how spiders are connected to monsters, because if those caves are presented in Victor's drawing like spiderweb, they probably have something in common. They're probably related to each other somehow. I don't know how, once again, maybe some ideas, but not something I'm still ready to share with you. Anyway, we're moving forward, the same image with Boyd finding a goat, and we can see that Boyd found the goat, and the reason why it was Boyd the one who found the goat is...
That's why he's the goat! The goat!
Now this is something I never noticed. There's like some kind of a stone structure that is broken behind Boyd. Maybe it was a garden, maybe it was something else. Probably not anything way too important, but I remind you that the city was built from scratch for this TV show. So I assume that almost everything here has some kind of a meaning, or at least a thought behind it. Just for you, something to notice, that's it. Anyway, once again we move forward and we can see that Abby here is basically getting a little bit insane. She's just watching, she's like looking at something, and she's holding her pendant, you know, the same one that Alice wore in previous episode, and she's going a little bit insane. She's saying like, I remember this dream I had when I was a girl. So there is always a simple explanation for everything. Maybe she's just going insane, you know, when you had those dreams like when you were a kid and you died in the dream and you woke up. Like almost everyone had this experience. So she's thinking here, she's getting insane, and she's thinking here, okay, I'm in a dream, so I need to kill everybody and myself to actually wake up. And when Boyd doesn't come back in the night, she understands she lost her closest person in the whole world, and she goes completely insane and she almost kills her kid. But this is not what we do here. We don't look for simple explanations, because in season 2 there is Elgin, who also acts kinda similar to Abby. He acts like he has been to this place, like he recognizes it, like he has some kind of a deja vu. And basically Abby here, when she's looking at the street, it does feel like she's not just thinking about something that happened in her head or in her history when she was a child. She looks at this place and it feels, once again it's just a feeling, but it feels like she has seen this already, like she already dreamt it. And once again, episode 9, we can also experience Tabitha's dream, which is gonna feel very real for her. So I know there are theories that say Abby is Victor's sister or his mother or whatever, or she's Victor. I'm not a big fan, but maybe since Abby is also a character that comes back and Boyd sees in season 2, maybe she also has a role. and maybe she also had some kind of history with this place before she got here with her family. Anyway, once again, some kind of a small nod to the 70s and the 80s, and this is basically somebody laughing at them like, get away, you can go away to Hawaii. So if this is some kind of a simulation, the person who built it is some kind of a sociopath and I don't know, a maniac. Or it's once again another clue that this place was not always closed, and sometimes you can actually take a car, drive to the airport and go to Hawaii, even though it's not usually, you know, like marketing wise, it's probably not the best place to put that kind of advertisement in the city with like 20 people who are basically probably not the richest people on this country. Anyway, I'm just assuming here, but this city doesn't look like it's, you know, like a gated community or something like this. Anyway, we have the goodest boy here. Like Boyd in his flashback sees the dog, and this is the first time, I know I'm ashamed of myself, but this is the first time I actually noticed the dog has a collar. And Boyd is basically saying to him like, you belong to somebody because he has a collar. Usually dogs don't put collars on themselves. It's not something they usually do, but you know, like once again, I'm going far away. We're not looking here for any easy explanation. So we're comparing this to the dog that Jim and Tabitha saw in episode 4, and also the same dog that Victor saw when he was young during the massacre. And here we can see probably the same dog. Maybe they use different dogs. This happens in productions, you know, because dogs are not really paid actors usually, and they have their own schedule. But sometimes you can just use a very similar dog, and usually the viewers are not gonna notice too much. But it's still probably the same dog. There's a color, they're very much alike, and there's also the second dog. You remember when Tabitha and Jim saw the dog, there was also another one. So we can already start to making some conclusion. We have seen that the dogs are probably following the boy in white, okay, at least one of them. And at the scene between Ethan and Victor and Jim and Tabitha, the dogs also maybe probably came because of the boy in white sent them. This is why Victor had those visions. So it is safe to assume, maybe I'm wrong, but it is safe to assume that the dogs are following the boy in white. The boy in white is one of the main forces in this place. We still don't understand if it's somebody to help our characters, our heroes, or to harm them. Probably the first one, because he had many opportunities to harm them and kill them, and he didn't take them, like he saved Julie and Victor, for example. And I just started to think, which god, which entity, which spirit was actually followed by two gods? And surprise, we came back again to Hindu religion, to Hindu mythology, and actually the god by the name Yama had two dogs, Sharvara and Shyama. I really hope I pronounce it at least close to being correct, probably not, but once again, I don't mean any disrespect. I hope it doesn't offend anyone if I pronounced it incorrectly. So yeah, of course, those dogs are four-eyed. They're basically some kind of like a Cerberus from Greek mythology. But once again, when there's like a power entity that's being followed by two dogs, and we just talked about Father Khatri, and you know, like him being maybe like a storm god or something like this, this is probably a coincidence, but still, you gotta admit, this is something worth mentioning. Anyway, we're moving forward. Actually, we're finishing this episode, almost finishing this episode. In this moment, when Boyd finally finds talismans, I have a couple of questions. If they started to whisper already when Boyd found the talismans, why are they not whispering here? Why are they not trying to manipulate him? Maybe they just still didn't figure out, they were like needed to, you know, like update their frame, you know, download the version 2.0 or something like this, and they were like, oh, he found the talismans, uploading, and it's gonna take a couple of days. And also, are those leaves are actually serving as door here? Because it looks like not something so hard to penetrate there. If we're talking about season 3, it looks like when Ethan opens the door, the crazy monster grandma is gonna enter inside and gonna start killing everybody left to right, even though the talisman is probably still intact. The open door allows her just to enter, just like open window. Here, for some reason, the sleeves are actually serving like a door. I don't know, maybe it is logical to you, not too much to me. But once again, some things are kind of hard for me to accept as, you know, like some kind of writer's mistake. I don't like calling it mistakes because you cannot basically write an perfect script. It doesn't happen, and you tend to make those kind of moments that don't match. But maybe there's something else here. Once again, I have no clue, maybe you do. And when we look at the talisman, we already analyzed it, but I just never noticed that on Alice's pants. I've seen the trees, but I never noticed it's also a talisman there. Once again, probably not too much information here, not something to build any theory about it. Basically, Alice being, you know, like a creative guy who always needs to draw something, he took his pens and he drew on them, the most important things in his life. You know, like when you live in some sort of a culture, you usually tend to think about those kind of things, and he of course thinks about trees, crows and talismans. So yes, I told you, episode 8, maybe I'm getting a little bit rusty, but I wasn't able to find that many clues for you. I hope you still enjoy this video, and if yes, you can write me a comment on, you know, press that like button or wherever it is. But anyway, it's been like a break for us before 9 and 10, which are gonna be gigantic. I hope it's gonna be a very interesting videos for you. Thank you so much. I see you in the next one. Bye.